Welcome to the Straight Off the Bat live series. It's a show that covers the need to revive and survive and adapt to a new normal of COVID-19. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us for the first time on Facebook, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you manage your money. We've been doing this show for just over a year now, and I've learned so much, so I can assure you, you will as well. And today we have the privilege of discussing how to raise financially literate children in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have Ladi Franklin. She is a certified business value builder advisor and entrepreneurial thought and action educator. As a value growth advisor at Good Works Coaching and Consulting, she provides value growth coaching to SME founders and business executives. She's also the lead coach and mentor at Network of Christians since 2015. So we want to bring in Ladi. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are successfully streaming live with Ladi right now, who is in Trinidad. Which part of Trinidad are you in?
I am in St. Joseph.
Oh, nice. The original capital of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
So when it comes to finances, because we want to get straight into it, it's something that, you know, we sort of laugh and joke about when children have to wash dishes and this idea of child labor. But when do you start having that conversation about finances with children? What is the ideal? Is there an ideal age?
I would say, Pauline, good morning, by the way, and good morning to our listening viewers. I would say that all of research indicates that as early as possible, from the moment of birth, children begin to adopt financial habits, and so it means from as early as possible. There's a Cambridge University report out there that says that from the age of 7, children's financial habits are already formed. There's also another research that indicates that children are developmentally capable of saving from the age of 5. And the University of Cambridge actually advises that from the age of 3 you start. So the research out there indicates that as soon as possible. Now, in my experience, I would say that children are curious about money at different ages. So it may be in your own circumstance, you may need to even start before now. You know, I remember not too long ago, I was at an ATM and there was this mother and her toddler. I think she couldn't be more than 2 years old. And she came to withdraw some money. And after she finished, you know, the child was asking her, she wanted to have a go at it. And she said no. And the child started to cry, I want $20. I want $20. So she knows, you know, you get money from the ATM. She knows about 20. She knows about dollar, you know. So I would say that from as soon as we recognize that our children are asking questions about money, they're curious about it, that's our cue to start.
Wow, that's so interesting because you see all these memes and with social media where kids are basically they're sponges, right? So there's this very popular meme of this little flower girl walking down the aisle of a wedding and she recognizes a celebrity who's sitting down in the back. And from the time she sees him, she starts dancing. She could not have been more than 2. And everybody's just like laughing at the fact because she's associated this person's face with music and dancing. So when you say, as early as possible and looking at 7 and things like that, it's so interesting because as someone who grew up with Caribbean parents, you tend to hear this thing about, don't worry about that. That's not for you to worry about. What is your opinion on that?
Yes, I agree with you, Pauline. The general thing is parents either they're embarrassed or they just feel uncomfortable. They think they shouldn't speak to their children about money. That's a general practice, actually, but it's not supposed to be so, as we can see from research. You need to start engaging with your children. In any case, the children of these days will ask you, you know, they will ask you why can't we have more money? Why can't we go to the bank and get more money? Swipe your card. And these are things come, so we really cannot get away from it.
And that question that you just said, this is only going to be a little bit of therapy for me, because I don't know if for those who've watched this before, I these sessions are really for me, and you guys are just here for along the ride. And don't forget to ask any questions you have, any comments, because we have access to that right now. We want to get as much information from her as possible. So when it comes to this Caribbean culture, this Trinidad culture of saying you don't worry about it, but then as a child, you may have you're going to go in primary school and have these outings, pre-pandemic obviously, but still you have all these things associated with money. And I am certain everybody that's watching this at some point in time hear their parents say, why every time the school wants something from me, why it's every time you come in with a slip to ask for money. So what advice would you have for parents? Because I mean, even as I'm sharing the example, there's a emotion also attached to that.
First and foremost, I would advise them, like I said, to start as early as possible, because I mean, their situation is not like ours at all. We don't want them to make the same mistakes as we made, just like you said, Pauline, earlier on, that you wish your parents had taught you more, right? If they had taught you at all, because the general picture is that some people didn't even have any financial education at all, and we later learned, didn't we? We learned from the school of hard knocks. Costly mistakes, stressful financial mistakes made us to learn, and we want to make it easier for our children. They have greater susceptibility right now to negative influences, and just like you said, everything around them is buy. There's a lot of advertising influences now, and in fact there's a research that says that the average individual is exposed to 1 million adverts by the time they're 21, right? And that means that the propensity, the conditioning to spend more than save, is greater, for them. And then you also have the pressures, pressures from here and there, pressures from school, pressures from schoolmates, pressures from the society as well. All of these things are there. And then you have, the major problem of habits. Habits are formed financially even from birth for children, if that's what research shows. And it means that, and a lot of us as adults, we can trace some of our financial behaviors and practices from when we were children. And what this means is that if we develop bad habits, they're going to hang around for a long time, because that's the thing about habits. They are easy to form, but they are very difficult to change. And if they are long-standing habits, of course, that is they are even more difficult to break. So my advice is that, you want your children to be okay, don't you? You want them to be financially stable. You want them to have good careers, solid jobs, and a lot of this has to do with not just earning the money, but keeping the money, right? Because we see a lot of people who earn lots of money and they are in dire financial circumstances. That's not what we want to have that's not the kind of life we want for our children. And I know that the average parent, if you ask them, we want our children to have better lives than we did, right? And the core of that is what we teach them about money, how the kind of money values we inculcate in them from childhood.
But that was like my first experience with money. Very, very first experience.
I've been in banking since I was a teenager.
Hey, Hi there, welcome back to Straight Off the Bat, a show that covers the need to revive, survive, and adapt to the new normal of COVID 19. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, don't forget to smash that like button and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing something that's extremely important for parents. If you are parent or you know somebody who is a parent, go tag them in the comments below because we want to have a discussion around raising financial literacy with children in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we have the great privilege of talking to Ladi Franklin. She's a certified business value builder, advisor, and entrepreneurial thought and action educator. So let's bring back Ladi and let's talk about emotion attached with money, because we've had, within this Straight Off the Bat series, we've had conversations around investment. We spoke to Philip Williams, who is, if you haven't watched that, definitely go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we had specific conversations around investment. But we both sort of bonded over the conversation about the first time we engaged with money and the first, just literally just ran out by the corner store to get Bigfoot snacks, because that was important to 5-year-old me, is all I have to say, right? So when it comes to that emotion attached to it, how do you manage that? How do you educate that a child? Because I find a lot of times we have this either or mentality, two extremes with parenting, meaning, well, you don't know how to manage your money, so I'll just take it all away from you. What advice would you have for parents on that?
In terms of emotions, you're really looking at, I would say that you target whatever behaviors that you are seeing come out, and you use teachable moments in order for you to be able to address the situation. Now, there are a plethora of emotions that are attached that really affect people's purchase behavior, spending behaviors, and so on. So I don't really know from what direction to address this. But, yes, when it comes to emotions, it's really something that first and foremost, we want to really understand the child. I'm hearing you say cut and dried, when it comes to things like this, you really have to be patient and understand what exactly is the feeling behind this, and see the best way that you can walk a child, through with respect to that. For instance, I believe that there's a lot of emotions attached to peer pressure, right? And I'll give an example of my son. In primary school, he wanted a pair of shoes that he said his peers in school were going to have. They all planned within themselves, without earning any income, that they were going to have, they were going to come back to school after holidays with those shoes. Yeah. And me not knowing how much it cost, I said, no problem. It was only when we got to the stores and I saw how much it cost, I said, you have to be kidding me. And he also told me I had to be kidding him for saying that I didn't want, it meant it was like his life, and I said, no, of course, mommy cannot buy this for you, this is, and so I had to be patient with him because he wanted to start a scene right there. Again, like every parent, I had the same challenges because I wasn't starting early enough, but this was primary school. And we did the shopping around thing, and although he saw the difference in prices, but at the end of it, what we saw, the lower price was not something that he wanted, of course, but I went ahead and purchased that. Come the day he went to school, he was very sad, and I felt very bad for him too, and was wondering how to get out of this, But when he closed from school, what I noticed was that his mood changed considerably. And then I asked him, I waited until after 2 days and I asked him, I said, how come you were not so, when you were going into school, you were so unhappy, because you didn't have those shoes. But when you came out, I noticed you were just whooping and jumping up in the air with your colleagues. He said, what shoes? What are you talking about? I said, you remember you told me that, you had to have those shoes because your peers were going to laugh at you and all of that. He said, no, nothing like that happened. So I said, you see that? And it became a teachable moment for me. So I sat him down and I said, many times what we think people think about us is not what it is. Like I said, I recognize the emotion. you know I identified what it was, that this was peer pressure, but I was not going to be to run him down because of that. I was going to be patient and be looking out for a teachable moment where I can address the situation. And I encountered several opportunities like that, and I will advise parents to do the same. I hope that answers your question.
Definitely, and kudos for you for having that patience, because a lot of parents don't. So and you're right, it's just that also brings this idea of belonging, because that's what ultimately all we want as humans is to belong. And if other people are doing something, don't mind, we think that we are unique. But I had a mentor that always used to tell me, you're unique just like everybody else. So
Mhm.
when it comes to that experience, uh, that shapes the individual as an adult. So what are some of the challenges that children will face in the future that don't have um, a mother like you who has the patience and the understanding of a teachable moment?
um I don't really like talking about this because it's like a kind of doom and gloom kind of thing. But really, they are going to face definitely more challenging economic conditions than us. Even at the best of times, when economies are strong and so on, people still experience severe financial problems, right? And not to talk of now that we've been having a lot of uh, economic problems that have kind of reached epidemic proportions, and some of the economic challenges that we they have long lasting impact. So they are going to go into all of that. Then they're also going to face more and more rapid socioeconomic transformations, technological changes, digitalization, and all of these things are going to make financial decision making more challenging. And then we're seeing what is happening with the job market and the career market. That in itself, there are some insecurities. So even understanding, how to take your studies and your career development very serious from an early stage is a very strong component of financial literacy now. Exposing them to the various options that are available. Then you also have the incidence of inflation. When you're talking about inflation, of course, we are talking about, things getting costlier. All of us, we always say the good old days. Every generation will say that. And when we talk about inflation, we're looking at paychecks that are not going to be, they're really going to grow, at the same rate. Interest rates also are going to be just marginally different or better. And then we also have the financial system, which will in itself could continue to be more complex, and making important decisions as to for saving, investing, and so on. That one, they're going to be facing all of that. So without the financial education, without the tools to make informed decisions that affect their lives, what we are going to witness is that they are going to make the same mistakes as we made in the first place. And this is what we don't wish for our children. They are also going to be unprepared, to enter the world, and definitely this is going to impact on their financial security. They're going to have behaviors and practices that, will hinder them from saving, from earning, and even protecting their income. And of course, in fact, their future may be compromised because if you don't start things early, you make financial decisions that will continue to have lasting effects for the rest of your life. So, it's bad enough that you started off wrong, but then again, you keep on, you know, um, suffering from the effects for a long time, you know. And what this means is that, there's a kind of role reversal now. So rather than focusing on their financial security, planning for long term financial security, what they now focus on is financial recovery for the greater part of their lives, which is not a good thing at all.
Welcome back to the live series Straight Off the Bat, a show that covers the need to revive, survive, and adapt to a new normal of COVID-19. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from YouTube, smash that subscribe button and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing how to raise financial literate children in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the great privilege of talking to Ladi Franklin, and as a value growth advisor at Good Works Coaching and Consulting, she provides value growth coaching to SME founders and business executives. And we've covered so many topics, and we've reiterated certain things when it comes to parents and how you can actually have that conversation about money, which is by default is something that we're always doing all the time. But when we're looking at activities within the home, we want to find out from you, Ladi, what sort of activities, then you can give us some examples that you can implement in your home to teach kids about money.
Okay, I think I've already mentioned some of them. One of them is modeling the behaviors yourself. The eyes, those little eyes are watching you. Make no mistake about it. That's why they can say, go and get more money from the bank. That's why when you tell them that the money has finished, they will say, swipe your card, right? So they are watching you. They're seeing everything that you are doing. Make no mistake about it. So, and if your behaviors, if they are positive, it means that they're inculcating that, they're drinking that in, and they see when you spend, they see how you spend, they know if you don't just you budget, before you start spending and things like that, especially if you involve them, right? So the thing is modeling it, and as I mentioned, also actually teaching them as well. And like I said, many parents are reluctant, but the only reason why you're reluctant is because you probably think you don't know much about money, or you also have money management problems yourself, and that is your cue. You have to do something about it for the sake of your child, don't you? Yeah. So and then also, like I said, it's not a big you can just use small activities and ways that you can teach your child. They will receive more of this from you than anybody else. That's why this is so important. So even if it means investing in that time to educate yourself, go to any of the sites that for parents to teach financial education for children on parents' website. If that is a good investment. All right. Another thing again is for you to create opportunities for them to learn and to practice within the home. There are many, many teachable moments in the home. You can teach your child financial responsibility, from, just getting them to contribute to chores around the house. I find this very important. Being responsible is important simply because, the house doesn't just get to be well and okay by itself. People have to contribute. So it is the same. It's a very good life skill that you are teaching them there, and you can teach them from home by giving them very simple tasks to do. Make your own bed and do this and do that. And then you can also, create opportunities for them to learn about earning, right? And this is, for me, you're really teaching them the cause and effect situation of hard work. If you work hard, you get paid. Now, I'm not talking about the chores around the house that I just mentioned earlier on. It's about giving them a specific task for which you would give them, some allowance or something, maybe wash the car on Saturdays or something like that, and this is showing them that if you work, right, if you work hard, you get paid. If it's done in a slapdash manner, you could decide to pay them half, and tell them that this was not well done, or you don't pay at all. These are subtle ways that you are teaching them these things. Planning their spending. If you give them the allowance or their pocket money, you're sitting them down and telling them, look, allocate this. It's not all going to be spent on spending, so you could put some aside, save some, you could spend this amount, and you could put this aside, so allocate it so they know that they don't have to spend everything. But, we have some parents, you give pocket money and then they come, oh, what did you buy, sweetie? Oh, great. And they, if they spend out everything, they're getting praise, and they're going to go they're going to continue that way. What about self-gratification? We know that what they don't like to hear is no, but they like to say no a lot. But no is simply no, and you cannot have it now. You can have it later. And ensuring, of course, we line up with what we see, so that because we can't say you can have it later, or you can have it on condition that you do so and so, and then you don't do it. Children are very, very quick to to recognize that type of lack of integrity, and they don't take us serious. But what we're trying to teach here is to wait for things. You can't have them when you want them, and also let them know that we have limited resources. So mommy doesn't have the money, and we cannot afford that. So these are teachable things, and then you could instead try to buy something, pay for something else, and say, you see, mommy could not buy this because we had to pay for this. You're also teaching them, about saving. You could teach them about saving, have their piggy bank. I would advise that you give them something to save towards, because again, this makes them look forward to it, so they could save towards maybe Father's Day purchase, a gift or something like that. Or they could save towards maybe having their own bank account. You can really hype this up, and save up to $100. I'll match it, and we'll go and set up an account for you. That's something for a child to look up to. So there are several opportunities, teachable moments within the house. It depends on, if we're intentional and purposeful about it, we'll find several opportunities.
Great advice. We have a question in the comments from Giselle. Excellent. It's what advice do you give a parent who offers a child, a young adult, use of debit or credit card?
Well, the question I would ask is that how financially literate is that child? All right, because it's ways of wisdom in that if they have poor financial habits, they don't know anything about budgeting, and they want it now. That's I think that's a train wreck in the making, right? So for me, if the child, of course, has been well taught, well educated, the child has been able to display all the both not just the behaviors but also the attitudes, being able to defer self-gratification and not being involved in spontaneous spending and so on, I could trust that child. Anything beyond that, I think it's something that you want to think very hard about.
I can also attest to the fact that my first experience with credit card was just terrible, absolutely terrible. And it had to do with the fact that I didn't have that, understanding what it was. And, we do live in a world where we have access to information, but that emotion attached with swiping, and obviously, as you mentioned earlier, we have so many touch points of go buy this. It's so much easier now to go buy this. So what does that conversation looks like for a parent who decide, okay, I want to see how you manage that money? Is it a case of you build that behavior before you give them the card? Is basically what you're saying.
I would definitely advise before, right? But again, it may be a teachable moment where you could say, I'm going to give you this opportunity. However, it's on the conditions, and you put the terms and the conditions, and you stick by the terms and conditions. You withdraw as soon as you start seeing irresponsible spending or use of the opportunity that you gave them. That's it basically.
Awesome. And on that note of legacy, I want to thank you so much, Ladi Franklin, for joining us today and sharing insight into how to raise financially literate children in Trinidad and Tobago. Don't forget to sign up to be notified about the live show, the next live show. The link will be in the comments below. And as always, be sure to like and follow us on whichever platform you're watching this so you don't miss a single live show. And thank you for joining us again. See you soon. Bye.